Where are we? Explain this, because I thought we were at 5800, which looked like the White House from the front.
Yes, we are at the iconic Netflix studios located. Okay, let me start over again. We're in the Icon building, the Netflix Icon building located at the Sunset Bronson Studios in Hollywood, California.
All right. Well, this is where the Robot and the Bear is going to broadcast from now on.
From
Yeah, indefinitely. It's a Netflix show. Just so you guys know, we're on Netflix now. No, I'm not. But we are drinking Netflix drinks.
Yes. Cheers. Cheers to Netflix.
Thank you.
Thank you.
But
Thanks for coming here.
Yeah, we are joined by Ako Castuera. And this is the first time we've been in a studio like this, I think. Or it's not a studio. This is just a conference room.
Yeah, I got to book a conference room.
But in like a multi-billion-dollar operation.
Yeah.
Usually we're just at GR2 or something, so this is special.
Yeah.
This is grand.
Yeah. So Ako is coming off her opening of the show, Dance the Worm, which is at GR2, and this is kind of the perfect opportunity to catch up with her. But she's so busy, we are here at the studio.
At her work.
Yeah.
It's a weekday.
That's true.
And you guys are on the west side. And I am not.
I wish I was on the west side. Yeah, I commute.
Oh, I'm sorry. Where do you come from?
San Gabriel.
Oh, that's better. We should go to you.
Well, the food is definitely, pretty good over there where I'm at. But I'm sorry for interrupting.
Go ahead.
Eric. No, I unfortunately, I was out of town this weekend, so I wasn't able to check out your opening. I know. I'm such a shitty partner in a podcast.
But he did look at all the photos of the installation, just pictures I shot.
Yeah.
So he kind of knows it. So tell me about that altar in the middle. I know that's kind of the show is based kind of around this altar. And I might as well have your own explanation, because I've had people walk in saying, yeah, they're trying to figure out where it's from, like an ethnicity, a race, or a whatever. And they're trying to figure it out. And that's the funnest part. And I'm like, it might not be any of these things. Yeah,
that always kind of, I forget that's people go to that. They're like, what is this? Is this like, but it's a worm-based altar. So it's a literally worm-based altar. It's anchored by a central piece, which is a ceramic composter. It's like a 4-part stacking worm composter, and it's sculptural. So it's ceramic, and it's like very decorative, and it's very ceremonial, but it's also functional. So there's like, I don't know. I wonder how many worms are actually in there, but it would be hard to count them. So
there's actually worms in there?
Yeah, when I say literal, like I mean worms. Like I actually use that word accurately, I think.
Wait, so is this kind of based on an actual cultural kind of like worm thing, or?
Oh, well, it's like, I don't know, what is an actual cultural worm thing?
Like there are cultures out there that actually like have like these kind of dinner like placement things around big buckets of worms.
I want to find that people. I think we could start it. No, but worm composting, I mean, vermicompost is like the technical name for using worms to compost. And it just happens, like worms, that is what they do. They break down waste material and matter and stuff, and they turn it into this like great, really rich material. So people compost, like a lot of people do worm composting. Probably not enough, because I think a lot of people had never heard of it before and are probably grossed out by it. But no, I don't think there's a ceremonial, I don't think there's a culture out there who is celebrating the worm, overtly, like right now. I don't know. But there is a cultural, I mean, there are elements of this sculpture that do reference different cultures. So like specifically, it's referencing this myth, about Metzli, who is a Mexica god/goddess of indeterminate gender or fluid gender. And so Metzli is also the moon. And there's a story about Metzli and the sun being possibly rivals, but they're like on equal footing with each other, right? So it's not like the sun is this great god and the moon is lower than the sun or something like that. But then one day the moon humiliated Metzli by slapping them in the face with a rabbit. And this gives you two things. This is how the moon became subordinate to the sun. This is also how the moon wound up with a rabbit on its face. And this humiliating, I'm doing air quotes right now, but this like quote unquote humiliating event is what cast Metzli underground and gave them the designation of the lowly god of worms, which is also in air quotes, but I'm actually quoting. So yeah, Metzli is the lowly god of worms and also the goddess of the moon, and I think of like soil. Okay, don't quote me on that part, but definitely the lowly god of the worms. And I was thinking about how awesome worms are, and like if I built them a temple, they could properly worship Metzli not as a lowly goddess, but as like this like exalted, radical, awesome figure worthy of worship.
Right. Oh.
So
wait, there were from the photographs that I saw, it looked like there were a bunch of like table settings or something.
Yeah.
Are those of people that are in your life, or are they specific?
Oh, well, there's table settings, and then there are also like photographs and little pieces of like mementos and things like that. So the table setting is, it sort of it does bring in like, who are the dead in your living life, right? Who are the dead that you live with, that you kind of like, eating is, or like ceremonial dining or setting a place for somebody is like a way to kind of
honor that person.
Yeah, and just show how much really we are part of each other's lives, even if we're not here physically. And then, I have pictures of like my grandparents, and I have pictures of friends that have died, and I have pictures of my cat, my deceased cat, and there are a lot of things that I wish that I could put into the altar. I have a lot more to put there, but those are sort of they're like placeholders for the idea of the departed that are very much with us, that live with us. And then I have pieces of my great grandmother's floor in Mexico. I had a chance to go visit my family's hometown in Libres, Puebla, and we could still go visit this building, which was amazing. And I got to go there with my auntie, and she told me, she kind of just like brought it to life and talked about her memories there. And this is where I would run back and forth, and this is where the cooking happened. And the floor was all broken apart, and it's so I got to bring a piece of that home. And so that's in there. And then there's some mugwort, which is a herb. It's a plant that grows native in California, and it also grows in different parts of the world. And it's like it's an aid for psychopomps, and psychopomps are figures who help us bridge the
astral plane.
Yeah, planes between life and death, and like before life. So people who are being born or people who are dying, mugwort is an aid for that. And it also it's said to make your dreams more vivid.
Whoa.
Or to help you connect with your subconscious. Wow. Yeah, there's something about the subconscious and the dirt and the darkness and the regenerative darkness. It's like where things go down to before they become the thing that we're going to see.
Whoa.
And so how do the pieces that on the walls tie into the altar in the center?
Well, they tend to be things that either refer to stuff that comes out of the soil. Like there's a lot of corn husks, for example. Mm-hmm. I'm really big into corn. It's awesome. And the corn husk as a material is just really it's just fun to me. And
But
so
also the dolls are kind of like, it's like a historical form, right? Just making dolls from corn husk.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've just seen it depicted in places.
Yeah, that's totally a thing. It's like ubiquitous for corn people. There's so much to do with it. It reminds me of like, I'm always thinking about that part in Pee-wee's Big Adventure when he goes to the Alamo and he's getting the tour, and the tour guide is like, yes, there are literally thousands and thousands of uses for corn, all of which we will talk about now. And
Wow.
and that's what this podcast is going to be. So you can grow corn to
Can you
make
get closer to the mic? I
You
think,
can't.
or you can move the mic.
you can
That's better.
use corn for ice cream. And I want to talk about that because this corn, actually, the origin of most of these corn husks are from a project that I did with Shiho Yoshikawa, who was the founding chef of Sweet Rose ice cream. And
Greatest ever.
yeah, Eric and I used to exchange like photos of ice cream being eaten at Sweet Rose, and I felt like it was mean. It was mean. It was kind of like to say like, haha, I'm eating ice cream and you're not eating ice cream.
Yeah, because first off, Sweet Rose we think is the best, or it is the
It
best.
is the best.
Right. I don't. Is it
Is
still?
it still?
Still? I don't know.
I don't know
but
where-
but okay, Sweet Rose Creamery. It's just an ice cream place, but there are many. And Akko's friend Morso was the head chef of ice cream.
Yeah, Shiho.
Yeah, amazing stuff. But
She's great.
so
artist.
yeah, there were no Sweet Roses outside of the west side of LA. So I live on the west side, close to me. I go get ice cream, take a picture, selfie, whatever it is, and send it to Akko because she can't get none.
Yeah.
And I would do that often.
It was cruel. It's super cruel. But anyway, so
But then she would get special flavors that I never even tasted. So because there was some tasting going on, testing. There you go. Now, yeah, I wouldn't even know about that.
back to corn.
Okay, back to the corn.
All right, so so every summer Shiho would make a corn flavor ice cream, and we paired up for this like a sustainable kitchen artist project. So it was pairing a chef, like a professional chef, with an artist, and then we would like use the food waste from the chef's work to like make an art project, art installation, art thing. So I got all this corn, and I got to like dry it out and play with it and do things, and that's when I started making those corn dolls and garlands and creatures and weird stuff like that. And it's I don't know. So that was like years ago, but I can still use the same material because I can like soak it and I can
Be
reuse
flexible.
it.
Right?
Mhm. Mm-hmm. So there's stuff like that, and then there are figures that are not made out of, well, they're definitely made out of clay, and clay is a kind of soil. So this whole project came about as a gesture to like reciprocate with the soil. So since I'm taking so much out of it, I take clay out of it, I take food out of it, everything, I'm a soil-based life form.
Yes.
And I don't do very much to give back to the soil. So I was trying to think about what I could do, and building the ceremonial composter for worms is one gesture that I can make. That's like, it's a ceremonial gesture. It doesn't literally put back what I take out of the soil, but it's a start. Right. So the clay, everything on the wall that is made out of ceramic, it comes from the soil.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh.
So I noticed that the centerpiece, of course, is not for sale. It's an installation piece.
Mm-hmm.
Is that something that you actually is the ceremonial composter? Actually something that you like have in your home, or you keep in your home?
No, it's too ceremonial. It's just like, it's actually not as functional, as easy, like as this thing that I have. It's called a can of worms, and that's a lot easier for me to use, and it's like more lightweight, and I don't have to worry about if I'm gonna like, I don't know, drop something on it and destroy it. So I keep the ceremonial composter at my studio for the most part, and it's like, I only bring it out for special occasions.
But you're saying that there's actual worms in there.
Yeah, the worms go back.
are.
This is like their ceremonial home. You know, it's
Oh.
like they're.
So you borrowed some from the can of worms.
Yeah,
and-
yeah,
Oh.
yeah.
And also, there's weird. I don't know about weird, but there's
They're
a lot of
mites.
yeah.
There's like companion critters.
and there's stuff flying out. If you open it,
Not.
yes,
Really?
yeah. When I open the top, stuff flies
Oh
out.
wow.
Yeah, and I'm just
Should
like,
take a picture.
Like gnats.
I guess I don't know what they are. There's things flying out. This I'm just like, I'll just leave the top on.
Yeah, just leave the top.
Yeah.
on. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what it is, but I opened it and I saw the little. I
Little
guess
mites.
the mites.
Yeah.
I was just like, oh shit.
Yeah,
then I
there's
saw
tons
the
of 'em.
stuff flying out. And
No,
yeah.
I mean nothing happens in a vacuum. Nothing natural happens in a vacuum. So the worms are like the central feature, and they're the ones that I'm talking about the most. But there are a lot of other critters that help in breaking down materials.
Sure.
So I hope they don't freak you out too much.
No, not at all. I let other people. I did take. People are curious. So I did open it and let people look, and stuff flew out, and then they got freaked out.
They're like,
So, yeah.
"Ew."
It's
yeah. Yeah. Well.
It doesn't smell bad or anything though.
No. It
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. But it's hard to explain what the altar is. But
Really?
because people have asked like a
There's
lot.
like a thing. I wrote a thing out. It's on the wall.
I point people to that, and then they kind of get it, and then they look, and they think they know, then they still don't know, and they start asking the basic question.
What's the basic question?
What is this?
It's a
and then it goes to,
it's a compost.
and then it goes to, the artist. Who's the artist? They want to know your ethnicity and stuff. So it goes to that, and then then they're trying to make sense of it with something that they think they know, and then I realized, and then I don't think they know. I don't
Well,
know.
everyone like
Interesting.
kind of measures what they know from some sort of reference point, right?
Yeah, that's what knowing means, kind of. But yeah,
Mm.
right.
Mm.
So yeah, I think that's what they're doing. But
I-
then I'm just like, maybe you can't just join these things because there's not a straight line here. But it feels like that's what they're trying to do, and
Yeah, that's
I'm like,
cool.
don't worry about it. Just go with it. That's what I'm just telling everybody. Just it's cool. Yeah, that. Or I'm like, maybe it's not that. Maybe it's everything else. Maybe things you're not thinking about. But I can't really explain it. So that's my best explanation. Is it's whatever she wanted to make.
I thought it was an oven. Like when I saw it, like I was like, like put a fire into that, and
That's cool. I like
Yeah.
fire.
So
I won't. Well, it's been through like
It's got a-
thousands of degrees.
Yeah.
I
right,
think about 2,000 degrees.
refined in fire.
Yes, it has been. I mean, it's gone through a chemical change,
Mhm.
and you could burn a fire in there. I would take the worms out first because it's all about them.
Well, I was thinking. I mean, because if I recall what I remember seeing in the photos, it looked like it had like legs or something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it looked like it would stand on top of a fire, and whatever was inside it could be like,
Have not attempted that.
But
Not
that I
yet.
mean that was just like my initial impressions because I didn't have a chance to read the write up.
Yeah.
And just looking at it, I'm like, it looks it could be both sculptural and it could probably be a cooking device at the same time. It could be like because it's like placed. It looked like it was placed on a dining table kind of thing because of
It could be a steamer, I guess, right?
Oh yeah, it
Yeah.
would be a great steamer.
I think
Yeah.
that, but because it doesn't quite, it's not quite sealed on the
Can
sides.
we talk about my
but yeah.
favorite product?
Your favorite
Yeah.
product?
Yeah.
Sure.
It's an Instant Pot. What about my next show is just an Instant Pot in the middle of
What do you make in the Instapot?
Are you making the Starbucks eggs thing because that's what everyone?
No, I don't know
seems
what that is.
I don't know either.
Yeah, I don't know. Everyone I know who like has an Instapot like makes
make-
this egg thing, that like apparently is available at Starbucks.
Oh my god, wait. Okay. So you can crack like as many eggs as you want into a whatever like a stainless steel or silicone bowl, and you put it in there and it comes out as like one giant egg white with like as many egg yolks as you put in. Oops, I keep hitting that thing.
That-
Yeah, it's so awesome.
makes
And then you just chop the
Of
whole
course.
thing up and you make it's like an egg salad sandwich. But you don't have to peel a bunch of eggs because you just crack them. Okay, so that's one thing.
Wow.
Oh.
I
But
don't
can
know.
you do that just by boiling it in a pot?
No.
It can't be done like that. I don't.
No.
I've never
it's
tried
a
that.
slow and low process, right?
No. It's very fast.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
Well,
like a
okay.
5 minutes.
Really?
Because you're
Okay.
using pressure to keep heat circulating inside there, but like if you're going to do it without a pressurized pot, you would probably have to like do a slow and low process with a
But
lid
it's
on.
eggs. I don't know why it would be rubbery and you'd be like, bleh.
So in like, do you think in 10 years, let's say, because I go, if I go to yard sale, I see a Foreman grill. Is this the
Oh.
is this the next Foreman grill?
No,
You don't think so?
no.
Well, the Foreman grill was kind of designed to be a little bit more affordable and economic, and like this. I mean, I don't think Instant Pots are like available for $30.
You will make your money back by eating Instant Pot food within 30 days. I mean, you can make your own yogurt. I mean,
I don't know. Yeah.
I
You have
don't know
an
about
Instant Pot?
30
No.
days.
No.
It depends.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I try not to buy like household devices like that.
no, that's
Yeah.
the one that you should get. That is the one.
So I should like request this for my next birthday thing.
Yeah, and then get rid of
Fuck that.
everything else. You don't need anything but a
Because
blender.
I have some, my friends gave me an air fryer for my birthday
Oh,
a couple
no.
years ago,
No,
and
it's
that
too specific.
it's been sitting in the box like for-
Bread maker? Did you have a bread maker ever to
No,
make bread?
there's
Because that was a
this
thing for a
really
second.
Easy
Yeah, it's-
bread recipe that you can do. No, you just make that.
Yeah, see, there's all these devices, and I'm thinking the Instapots, I'm going to see it at yard sales in a few years.
People I know who have one, they actually use it. Like, do you guys? Yeah,
You know what I don't see at a yard sale?
No.
Cast iron pans.
I know because everybody wants to keep theirs.
Yeah,
which they
see,
should.
that's for
Yeah.
real.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
why I'm
No,
thinking
no,
the
I
Instapot
have-
is,
no,
is going to be
no.
like at the yard sale.
No,
but-
I have cast iron pans and I have an Instant Pot, and the only way I would garage sale my Instant Pot is if I bought like 2 more Instant Pots. Because I would keep. I have 2 actually. I have 2 already. So if I.
I kind of feel like something better is going to come out
Nope.
that's going to
Oh, if-
replace
that
the
would be
Instapot.
awesome.
And we're going to see all the Instapots there because, the Foreman grill is just also just useless now, right? Nobody uses it. Who uses a Foreman grill? That was,
You
I
know-
don't.
see, it's over.
You can make. Well, anyway.
Well,
I was
I mean,
gonna
like-
say, a waffle iron is just as good as a Foreman grill.
Oh,
I
but
think.
waffles are good.
Yeah, and you
I'm
can.
sorry.
Have you ever made scrambled eggs in a waffle
I have not,
iron?
no.
That's great.
Oh, okay.
Is it?
Yeah,
Well, aren't they kind of dry?
yeah.
You like dry?
But you feel so proud of yourself.
Oh,
You feel the novelty of it
Fuck
makes
that.
up for the dryness. So yeah, I don't know. Is this what you guys really want to talk about?
this is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We
And now I'm like curious. I got to get an Instapot, and I'm sure there's people at
Yeah.
home who are just
once you
really
get
into
into
it.
pot, you let me know, and
Like people make stew in that, like fast. Is
I
that
mean,
what
like,
it
It's
is?
you
so
make-
good.
I guess you can make curry or something. Like
You can
that
make
in that.
really good curry. You can make really good stew. You
I
can
just
make.
but it's just to speed up the
I want
process.
to plug my
right?
favorite Instant Pot recipe bloggers, and that's Amy and Jackie, and
They
they're-
have blogs
they're
dedicated
Asian.
to the Instant
they
Pot.
do a lot of like Hong Kong style stuff. And that, man, I never thought that I could make really good food until I followed. I can't remember what recipe it was, and I was like, this tastes like real food. It tastes really good. It's like. So there, I remember one time I made a soup. This was before the Instant Pot. I made a soup, and it was
Fuck
an
that.
experiment, and it had like nuts and things in it, and it was intense. But I could never duplicate it again. And a friend of our family, she tried it, and she said in Spanish, like, "Now you're ready to marry," and that was
What
like that to me. It's like it says a lot. It's like a sort of social and cultural value and evaluation.
Wait, is that when you got
Right.
married?
No, I
Oh.
think no, I don't know. I wasn't interested. I was with Rob, but we were like we were together for 12 years before we got married. So it was
Right.
sometime during that probably, or maybe after. But anyway, do you know that this year is going to be 21 years with Rob? So you can understand it gets hard
Whoa,
to
21?
21 years. That's
Holy shit.
more than half my life.
Wow.
Wow. Yeah, that's a long time.
Isn't that like a certain milestone? Like I haven't that they
Wait,
celebrate.
when I met you, you weren't with like long ago, Oakland days. That was
Yeah.
already like that must have been 22 or 23 years ago.
Yeah, I wasn't with
Well,
Rob.
Yeah, when I met you 22 years ago maybe. So 21 years you've been together with
The next-
Rob.
I
Holy
know,
smokes, that's
it's
crazy. Yeah.
So
That's the 90s.
yeah.
yeah.
Anyway, congrats.
Thanks.
Yeah. That's crazy. Awesome.
Yeah, it's hard for me. It's part of why I think I don't really know how old I am, like, or what. I don't know, like, it sort of contributes to a prolonged sense of arrested development, maybe. Or not so much that, but like I can't really understand where I'm supposed to be in age. Or like, you know what I mean?
Do you think it's a generational thing? Because like I'm 46, but I do not feel like I am quote unquote 46. Like what I imagined a 46-year-old
Yeah, maybe
person
that's.
would be.
Yeah, I don't know, but maybe it's also like, so not having kids or
Right.
not like there's certain
Oh, none of
things-
us have kids, so
None of us
yeah,
have
wow.
kids, and I don't own a house, and I'm not like climbing I don't have a career path per se. I mean, I'm on one, but it's not like a one that I set. I don't know.
But it's happening.
Yeah, but it's not like something
Look where we
that
are.
It's not.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
not
Look
like
where we are.
It's
Yep,
not like
yep.
something your family like celebrates or throws a party for or something. They're like, you're in a, like there's not a ritual or like a some kind of like social thing that marks that you are an adult or something like that. And I don't know, like talking to other people, they have these chapters to their lives that have to do with like relationships, and they'll be like, oh, those were the
So and so years
so-
when I
yeah,
dated
yeah.
that person,
Yeah, I was trying
and
to-
everything was shitty, or everything was great.
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah.
Yeah,
Or this
yeah.
is when I lived in, this state or that state. And I've lived in California my whole life. And I've been with Rob my whole life. And I'm like,
By the way,
oh,
we're
yeah,
talking about
that's-
Rob Sato,
Oh, yeah.
the
Sato.
artist
Yeah.
who we interviewed a couple episodes
Yeah,
ago.
2 or 3.
Yeah,
2
yeah.
episodes or
2
3.
episodes.
Should
Yeah.
I listen to that? Or you guys talk about appliances?
They talk about other stuff actually.
yeah.
Maybe.
Oh, really? They
yeah.
talk about me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I might listen to it.
Rob's so busted.
But see, what you're doing right now is the only thing that could probably get me to listen to a podcast.
Well, then we're not going to tell you what he said
Yeah.
because
yeah.
you're going to get mad.
No,
I don't
cool.
know. You're not getting mad, but
Yeah.
I know that you did say that I was reading. I don't know. You made light of my reading choices.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You were like, "Pff, that's dessert reading. Oh, and I have a message from Rob.
Because I don't read. None of us
Wait,
read.
wait,
Or I don't. We
listen.
don't. I don't read
I
books.
don't read.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I'm
that's-
just
that's
out
a
of
bummer.
I was out of jealousy.
Oh, maybe you guys will
Yeah.
read more books. But
trying.
I guess, okay, so Rob was like, oh, Akko's reading all these Ursula K. Le Guin books. And you said, but that's like dessert.
But I don't
And-
even know who that is.
Well,
I think
here's
I just
the
said,
point.
I think I just said that.
But your listeners might, and they might think, "Oh, dessert books, those are lame." But here's the thing that Rob wanted to say later, that he forgot to say right then, was that reading should be like dessert, or reading can be like dessert, and it's like this delicious, wonderful thing that you like can't wait for more of.
yeah.
I just want to say that
Yeah.
because
Yeah,
reading's awesome.
I agree.
Or reading books, you mean? Yeah.
Oh,
you know.
reading is awesome. Well, I don't know what else do people read. Comics.
Reddit.
I read both of those things. I read
read
comics and Reddit. So.
Okay, I'm gonna advocate for reading comics as well, but
Yeah.
as we were talking about this when I was setting up the show, Eric was like, "Oh, but you don't really have to like picture anything when you read comics because, the function of comics is to show as well as to tell, right?" So
Who said that?
you said that.
Just now?
You said that when I was installing last week.
Oh, really? No, but there's space between the panels that you're supposed to fill
Yeah,
in.
yeah, your brain
Yeah,
is
yeah,
activating
absolutely.
that stuff.
That's why I'm like, did I say that? Because absolutely,
No,
I believe
but-
in the.
But with fiction or like with reading, your brain is doing all the work. So it's conjuring all of the images and it's providing all like spatial information and smell and stuff like that. Stuff that, comics is already doing a lot of the legwork for you because it's visual. So anyway, I think that's super important. And since we are here, we're at Netflix and, I've been working in animation and as a writer or storyboard artist or somebody who has to think critically, you need reading in your background. You need ideas and experiences that are beyond your own life. And you need to be able to like think with some kind of flexibility. And you can do that. Reading is how you do that. It's not reading comics, sorry, but reading reading words. I want to tell people that. It's really important because I'm freaked out that we're not going to have good stuff to watch anymore. Like, in like 2 years. Ideas. you know?
Yeah, I guess I can agree a little bit, but then at the same time, I remember, let's see, Lance from J Church, right? He was a musician. He would say it was really sad when he would read zines from people who read and their influences were only from other zines.
Yeah.
And he'd be like, "Oh, this is like a zine, like
Yeah,
he
it's
was
like
like,
a
how
zine echo chamber.
limited is that versus other ideas coming from all over the place to make a zine. Let's
Yeah,
say.
yeah. Same
But-
in animation. Like
yeah.
there are people who are making animation who their only reference is other animation.
Oh, wow. And is that
That's lame.
is that obvious when someone is kind of from a background like that? Like, is it very evident?
Yeah. No, I don't know.
Oh.
Maybe through their work.
Uh-huh.
There is a sort of generic quality,
Wow.
which is, I think some people want that. They want to make generic stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I've never worked on a production where that was desirable.
All right. Well, your previous project was Adventure Time,
The last thing I worked on before City of Ghosts,
which is what you're doing now.
right now I'm working on,
And people won't know what that is.
Netflix's City of Ghosts, created by Elizabeth Ito,
Yeah.
and it is currently in production, but it has been announced, so I can see.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah, and it's I'm really excited about it.
Awesome.
Yeah,
It's a little different, right?
it's
Are
really
you allowed to talk
different.
about this?
I'm like, what have they put out right now?
Maybe you don't need to. It's okay.
Well, I can say it's a show that explores historic communities of Los Angeles, communities or geographies, like locations, but not necessarily just locations. And there's stories that are not the typical, like, this is a story about LA, because we get a lot of, like, kind of Hollywood stuff being constantly told and regurgitated. So the episodes are going to specifically focus on different neighborhoods. So yeah, I don't know if
Is
I
this
what
a
more I
documentary
can say.
style?
It's
thing?
a hybrid documentary style. So we're using interviews with
Wow.
real people, and they're getting integrated into an animated.
Wow.
Yeah,
That sounds cool.
Ah.
It's cool.
Sounds cool.
It does sound cool.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah. That project sounds kind of a odd one compared to like just Adventure Time, for example.
Yeah, Adventure Time was so really, really different.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was storyboarding and writing on Adventure Time for like, I don't know, some years.
Like 8, almost the whole way, right?
My
Off
youth.
and on. Yeah. So can you talk about the difference? Now you're directing. It's a title that we're all like, every time you hear the
you're
word director,
directing
it
now.
means, see? It means,
Congratulations.
Thank
See?
you.
That's awesome.
anytime you hear
great.
the word director, it's like, whoa. But then directing this is a lot different than directing, let's say, a Hollywood movie, I'm going to guess.
I wouldn't know anything about directing
yeah,
a Hollywood
neither
movie.
would I, because come to think of it.
Yeah.
Come to think of it. But is it a lot different than directing just a pure animation film?
I think yes, because so we're using, like I said, we're gathering audio from real people. So I wouldn't know. I mean, imagine directing a documentary would be it's like some of that, but then also, you're working with the animated narrative stuff. So you're finding ways to piece these audio contributions together with like a story that is going to have characters that you'll be able to like write, basically. So like we're not trying to like put words in anybody's mouths, but we do have these characters that are like sort of guiding us through the stories of real people. So I don't know, there's an aspect of that that's just a lot of research and listening and finding like, well, what are the things that people have said that really highlight the story that we're trying to tell here. And then there's stuff that, I don't know, there's a lot that overlaps with storyboarding. So like, the writing and the composing the frame and which information is important. And, there's stuff like drawing. But then the things that are different are maybe there's a lot more communication. So just keeping tabs of where people are on the episode, like who's working on what and when it has to happen, and letting people know that you got their email.
So
And
it's
like with
conducting an
storyboarding,
orchestra.
you never have to do that. Everyone kind of assumes that you're like, I don't want to say that you're a fuck up, but like you'll do the work, but like you're not going to necessarily communicate, and you get treated sort of like a dumb baby who can a dumb smart baby.
So this job sounds nothing like the art you make.
You
I mean,
know what's
there's
so
is there
weird
any
is that
kinda-
it is.
How's that?
How so?
For the first time in my so when I was working on Adventure Time, I would agree with that, but in working on City of Ghosts with the documentary aspect, I have like a profound sense of being a gatherer. So like in my sculptural work, I'm really informed by having gathered my own materials. So that puts me in connection with something that I'm not trying to manipulate the character out of the material. I'm trying to draw the character that is inherent to the material. I'm trying to draw that out and feature it. You know, it's like in that way it's sort of like a collaboration. Like I gather soil, it has its own quality, and that quality is beautiful. You know, it's like I'm trying to make work, or I'm trying to support that quality. And you know, it's a gathering process. I don't like to use words like take or I don't know. So the process of gathering clay is like it starts with a please and thank you. It's like may I engage with you, may I receive your gifts, right? And then that sort of like that puts you on footing with your material that is reciprocal, and it's sort of equal, right? Like as much of you is going into the work as the material. So with interviews, I have a similar perspective. It's like right now you guys are gathering for me for your podcast, right? And I don't know, like so I'm kind of like a raw material here, and with the people that we're interviewing, I feel that way very much about them. Like I'm like I am in the presence of something that has very much its own character. They have their own character, they have their own qualities, and those qualities are to be respected and highlighted, or you know what I mean? Like that's a gift. So I'm receiving that, and I want to make the best of it, and I want to do my best to like put it in a place where it can shine. So that's how I see my job, and that's how I see my work.
It's just more hands-on.
Yeah, it's hands-on, and it's also kind of reaching into the darkness to see what's there. It's not trying to be like, oh yeah, I've got this, you know, I've composed this, and I've made several sketches, and I'm going to go from A to B to C. You know, it's like, I'm going to go into the dark. I'm going to see what's there. I'm going to hope. But you know, like more than hope, I'm going to like commit to being true to myself and the material. So doing the best that I can.
Are you directing the entire series, or
No.
are you doing just a couple of handful
Episodic
of
director. Yeah.
And
Right.
when's this coming out?
No.
Oh, okay.
I think 2021.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
wow.
yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
cool. I did not anticipate feeling this way about jobs that I do for money. Like that's going to sound weird because I put a lot of myself into Adventure Time, and writing and storyboarding demands a lot of, it's just a huge creative output. So, but I always felt like, that's something I wouldn't be doing if I wasn't getting paid, just because it's so hard. It's like it's so much work, and it's not like the language that I need to use creatively, like artistically. You know, because there's art that you make because you have to make it, and then there's art that you make because you can make it, and you've been asked to, and you can. So that's what most of my work in animation has been. It's like, oh, I can do this, and that doesn't make it less of an artistic effort or achievement. It's just that it's not what I had to do. It's what I got the opportunity to do.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas this is like this. I think, I don't know, there's just a different kind of resonance with the work that I'm doing now because of that element of like, oh, I have a material that pushes back, you know? Animation itself is very plastic. Anything you give it, it'll take on. So I'm not really working with anything that has its own inherent quality when I'm storyboarding for traditional animation. Whereas this, like, the people have their inherent qualities. So there's that dynamic and tension with
Because
working.
in animation, everything that is created is intentional.
Unless it's not, unless it's some weirdness that happens between, you know, the storyboard and the animators in Korea. Because sometimes those things happen. Or it's like if you're drawing in black and white and you say like you draw an eye, right? And it sort of looks like a circle with like a moon shape inside of it, right? Well, which part is going to get the color? So sometimes like with Jake's eyes, you know, it's like a circle, big oval with like a smaller oval inside of it. You might get the wrong part colored in black unless you made it very clear in your storyboard which part gets shaded in or gets the color. It could be like you get this cross-eyed effect, which is really hilarious, but also like that's a note, so you have to send that back, and you only get so many of those for every episode. So if you wound up having too many notes on this episode, then you're over budget, and then you just wind up with some weird random stuff. So that's the kind of artifact that you could get
Has that
from
happened
animation.
on Adventure Time?
Yeah,
To its benefit?
sure.
But this one's got way just I guess you'd say it's a little more random, right? Because you don't know the interview footage that you're gonna get until you see it.
Yeah.
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 So it's just like in doing interviews or whatever. A little bit, you know. I didn't know what answers I was going to get when I was doing magazine interviews, for example.
Oh, yeah.
You have no idea, and then you're like, well, I can't use 10,000 words. I've got to turn this into 2,000 words.
Right.
Then you just got to cut it down and figure out which ones are the most important, maybe. And yeah.
Yeah.
But yours is totally weird, so I like it.
No, that sounds.
Because the way I was doing it was, yeah, it was just kind of making those choices, figuring it out, but then realizing too, it's like, oh my God, I'm leaving these 8,000 words out that I really like too.
Yeah.
And you're screwed. I couldn't do much about that in magazines, you know?
Would you find yourself like thinking that you were going to do one particular type of story and then realizing that wasn't what the story really
It happened
was?
all the time.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
And then would you change?
Because you walk in with an idea too, and then you walk out going, whoa, you know, like all the questions I had weren't even important. It was all this other stuff that I didn't even ask. They just came out that became the focus. So you got to be flexible, just, you know,
That's
the same
cool.
way. And then all of a sudden throw out all your questions that you had, which I never wrote them down anyway. It was all in my mind. And then I would just go with the flow instead, which a lot of people can't do. It's like they'll ask a question and then you answer it. Then they'll ask a 180-degree different question. And I'm like, that really seemed uncomfortable. Like that transition. Sometimes you just got to go with it, but I don't know. That's how I had to do it. Your job sounds more fun though, because there's this animation element that I don't even understand, which sounds neat.
Yeah, it's cool.
I don't know what that is. It sounds cool though.
I don't know. I
Like,
think
how's that going to work? It sounds great.
I don't know. I was gonna ask you, what about a giant robot, like a giant robot animated something?
You want to direct it?
No.
Oh,
Oh wait,
okay.
yeah, sure. I didn't mean to say it like that. I don't want to.
I'm not kidding. I don't.
I mean, if you have funding.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, and animation is so expensive.
Yeah. Well, you could pitch it here.
We could do puppet shows with a little bag puppet. That's about the best I can go.
It
That's not even animated. You could just do it live.
End up looking something like BoJack Horseman, or like, you know, like animals, or, you know, just like,
Yeah, if you're lucky.
you know,
Yeah.
like just that kind of crudely drawn.
It's not
like-
crude, actually. It's not crudely drawn, I don't think.
I mean, like, it's just
Maybe
just-
home movies. Home movies, that's a more
home movies is
crudely
definitely
drawn.
crude. Yes, definitely. Like, it'll have to look like
BoJack,
home movies.
BoJack's drawings are great.
I've only seen a couple of episodes, and I just was never really like taken by its style. You know, that's just me. You know, because I watch a ton of anime. You know, and I'm spoiled.
Oh,
by,
you do?
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. I'm a nerd like that.
I watch
No.
none. No anime.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I know. You know, it's because you're like, You don't need to. It's in your blood.
Whoa. Is that true?
Wow.
How do you feel about that?
I guess it's just all in my last name and maybe DNA, but yeah, that's kind of weird.
Oh, yeah.
I've heard of, so it reminds me just how valuable a name is. I was talking to somebody about weebs.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You know what weebs are?
No.
Weeaboos. They're
Oh.
non-Japanese who really like they're way into Japanese culture. Maybe I don't know. I don't know if I'm being nice, but about it. But then they might use the word kawaii a lot, and they want to look Asian.
Yeah.
All that stuff. So
Is
They're
that a
annoyingly
derogatory
such.
term, or is that okay to say?
is it derogatory?
I think
heard
it could be both. It could be
Yeah.
both like complimentary or like, you know, like some people will like declare that they're weebs. Kind of
Yeah.
like they would
Can't-
just declare that
But
they were nerds.
What is the word? Where does that come from?
I have no idea.
I don't know.
But I didn't even know what it was until someone explained it. And then they also explained that I'm very valuable because of my last name.
Valuable?
Yeah.
Do they put a number on that?
Because I have a Japanese last name.
Oh,
So a weeb female wants to be with me because I've got the last name that they want.
Oh my God.
Booyah. I've got the last name. As
That
does
makes
Rob.
you-
As does
that
Rob
makes you
Sato.
happy.
And no, it does not actually. But yeah, I was just like, oh, that's like I'm valuable for that. Just the last name. It didn't mean anything. So I don't watch anime, but I do have the last name.
You do.
That's where where it
Yeah.
all went to.
And you know, you used to collect the stuff, but it's not the stuff that weebs are generally care for anymore. Like
I
the
don't-
old
I don't
like
know.
Japanese toys and stuff like
Wait,
that.
can an Asian be a weeb if they're not Japanese?
I
Can you be
don't-
like a?
I don't know the boundaries of weebs.
You gotta work on this, Eric.
No, I don't want to. I don't want to. This isn't for me.
'Cause I don't
I'm a
know.
victim. You know, I was
What?
I was a victim. I was just like, oh man,
I think Google would be able to tell us not to look at it later on.
yeah, I might be
Yeah.
used by a weeb because of my last name. I don't want them. Yeah.
Used for what?
Marriage. You know, it's like the future to complete one's weebness so they can have that last name. I got that.
Why don't they just change their name? I think you can do that.
But then that's fake weeb.
There-
Wait.
that's-
Isn't being a weeb already fake?
No.
That's just double level of weebness. I
Well,
guess.
yeah,
I don't really
there
know.
are like white people. Like,
know, sorry.
I think like I
don't
I've
know.
run across on like Instagram like white, you know, like cosplayers who like, you know, will incorporate like Japanese names into like last names or first names.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
You know, just for their profile.
Oh
you
yeah,
know.
yeah.
I don't think they're legally changing their name, but you know, on Instagram you could get away with that, right?
Damn.
Damn.
Whoa, you
that's
know,
rough.
my name is my Japanese. Well, Akko is a Japanese name, and maybe I'm a weeb because that's not actually my name on my gift certificate, on my birth certificate,
gift certificate.
on my birth certificate.
Yeah. But Akko is the short for Akiko, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's my middle name though. So
Yeah.
I don't
Close.
know. Maybe
That's
I'm a weeb.
still part of it.
Nah, no, it's still
Yeah.
like your
like
name.
to-
But you did marry somebody with a Japanese last name.
Yeah, but I
Oh.
didn't take it.
Oh damn. Oh, you're not a weeb.
Yeah,
You're
no.
not a weeb. You would have grasped it. You would have been like,
You could have
yes!
been Ako Sato. Oh shit! Can you hit?
Oh, that's your phone. I was wondering whose phone that was. James, why are you calling us? James.
Who's James?
James. James is from the Plush Art Club, and
Oh.
he and I are working on a plush.
Cool.
Yep. So, and we're supposed to meet later on this evening. So, which is probably the reason why he's calling.
Oh, there you go.
Yep.
Is it gonna look like you?
It's gonna look like my bear.
Oh,
Cool.
that makes sense.
Yes. Because I don't think that like, anyone would want to buy a plush of me.
I would.
Yeah, I think that would be amazing.
Yeah, actually, that would be amazing. I'd want a super deformed version though.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the Luke, big life-size Luke head and a little body. Yeah, it's got to be life-size Luke
I would.
head.
Yeah.
I mean, you can hold it like
I would
this.
want that too.
Like
yeah.
you'd hold it like a basketball. That'd be great. Yeah.
You
be
give
cute.
it a bouncy core.
Yeah.
How'd you get into animation?
Serendipity. So Rob and I moved into a building in Koreatown, and we made friends with our neighbors, Ariel and Goo. And Goo had won a Xeric grant. You know, it was the Ninja Turtles.
Don't you wish that exists? It's
It's
gone.
awesome.
Yeah, it's gone.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
Rob was applying for his Xeric. So anyway, we like hung out a lot, and for Goo's birthday, I drew. I made a card for him with his character Blanche the Baby Killer on the card, And like, I don't know how much time went by, but at some point he was working at Titmouse, and he's the lead character designer on Metalocalypse, and he needed some help with character design. And so he was like, who do I know who can like draw in my style? And since I had drawn that card for him, he remembered
Wow.
it and brought me on board. So
That's just such weird ways into
yeah,
jobs. Yeah.
I think the only lesson there is like talk to your neighbors, and also like if there's
Yeah.
something that you do, which in my case was drawing, do it and don't like hide it from people. You know, share it. Don't go out there like drawing everyone a birthday card so that you can get a job. That's not going to work. But
It
it's
may.
just to show that like you really never know where an opportunity is going to come from. And if you follow things that you're interested in and are engaged with and curious about anyway, like I was with drawing, then you just things grow out of that. You know, things grow out of being interested and curious. And
But in
engaged.
this industry, a lot of people can draw. Well, let's say not in industry, but a lot of people out there can draw, but they can't get the job. How much of it is just being able to,
Oh, yeah.
mesh with people? Because if you're like not a
Yeah,
nice
yeah.
person, you might not
Yeah.
get these jobs.
Yeah.
Or if you're maybe too quiet, I don't know if that's a good
Well,
thing or
that's
not.
that's the other lesson to the story, which is like, you know, talk to your neighbors, like not just your neighbors, but like being able to like interact with people and show up and do the things that you said you were going to do. That's a huge part of working. And I don't know. So, okay, Rob tells me stuff that he hears from other podcasts, and I think he heard this on a podcast, but someone was talking about like likability. Okay, you have to be 2 of 3 things, right? 1 is talented, 2 is likable, and 3 is responsible. So if you are talented and responsible, you'll get work. If you are talented and likable but not responsible, you could still get the work. If you are not talented but you're responsible and likable, you could work. You know what I mean?
Wow.
People will still put you to work
So-
because you turn things in. You do the work. You're
So 2 out of
responsible.
3.
2 out of 3.
That's interesting. So
Yeah.
I heard of, I guess this is totally different, but a past girlfriend once said 3 things: cold, tired, and hungry. She could be 2 of those things, but she cannot be 3.
Yeah,
if she's
no,
3, it's a meltdown.
I
2 of the
relate.
3, she can kind of
Yeah.
get through it. So
Yeah.
yeah, cold, tired, and hungry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So don't worry about it. If you're not likable, don't worry about it. You can still. It's just like demonstrate that you can do the work and be talented.
There you go. That's interesting, right? What do you think, Luke? Because you've always said for art, it's what is it, luck and talent or something?
Luck, talent, and discipline.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Discipline covers
But do you need all 3?
right?
Do you need all
Yeah.
3 though?
Yes. What?
Do you need all 3 for
Yeah,
that
you
one?
need all 3.
Okay. So for
yeah.
animation, you only need 2. It's easier.
Luck helps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any field.
And if you just want to draw stuff on Instagram, you just need one of those, maybe.
If you, I mean,
I don't know.
that's really like do that. Draw stuff and put it on Instagram, for sure. Because
Definitely opens up luck possibilities.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
people can find you, or if you meet someone and they're like, "Oh, that seemed like somebody I could work with," but do they actually make things? Like, do they, you know what I mean? Is this when you say you're a drawer, do you actually draw, or is it something that you think about? You know what I mean? So if you are actually a drawer or an artist, or you make stuff, like put it somewhere so other people can see it
Oh yeah.
if you want to get hired for stuff.
It's true.
No.
True. I
you
remember
go.
when I started, I used to like any like free like online, thing that you could be able to post your work on. I posted like Fecal Face, DeviantArt, like all that crap,
Yeah.
So, you never know where people will like discover your work
Yeah.
and like, think that you have something to offer.
Yeah. Personally, I don't post much ever.
Well,
I
you're
hate it.
a director.
Yeah.
I'm so lucky that I got in before it was like mandatory to be like on a feed, where you're like putting stuff on. Sorry to gloat. I don't mean to gloat, but I'm just like, phew, personality wise,
Oh, I know. I was actually on a podcast yesterday, and we were talking about social media and apparently I'm supposed to listen to this one episode on this guy's podcast where they talk about like how to play the Instagram game.
Eee,
Oh.
my kryptonite.
I know it's I'm kind of reticent of like listening to it just because of the fact that it's just like, do I really want to play this game?
Yeah. Do you?
Yes and no.
But I hear people talk about that, and they say, "Oh, got to post here, got to post at this hour because that's when the what do you call it?
Yeah.
European people are going to be looking, and they kind of have this almost plan that's 24 hours and every day, and it just sounds kind of shitty.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's
Yeah.
what they want to do, so they're into it. Yeah,
Oof.
I'm not sure if this room. There's a lot of people keep looking into this room. Is it okay?
Oh,
Are we
what
okay?
time is it?
I don't know.
we're only 1 o'clock.
Okay.
We're out of here.
All
Okay.
right.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks for listening, everybody. That was an abrupt end, but this room is kind of going to hell.
Yeah.
And,
We're
yeah.
booked for 1 hour,
Yeah.
and our hour is up.
Okay.
Thank you for having me.
No, thank you for having.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Yeah, there's like multiple people keep looking in the window.
Well,